Hi people, and this is my second attempt at doing this video. So this is two Police Scotland constables, and I'll do try and refer to them always as constables, but we know that they've got dual roles, conflicting roles, and they're always referred to as officers, and sometimes I do slip into that myself, but please forgive me for it because we know that their title should be constables. They take an oath of constable. Anyway, these two are Kimberley, Jandu and Lawson, and I'll go more into Lawson further on in this video. So they were both convicted last week at Kirkcaldy Sheriff Court on the 13th of October. Now they were charged, I do believe, with perverting the course of justice or defeating the ends of justice because they were involved in this man's case here, and they contaminated evidence. I put the link up to it, and this guy got convicted, but the concealed evidence, a blanket, they were the police on the scene, and they continued to lie to their superiors. Their superiors have set them up, and this is what happens. But anyway, so on the 13th of October, this was covered in the 2nd of September, before they were, because they were to get background reports, for because they were up in the indictment, which is a serious charge. It can be up to 4 years in the sheriff court, and it can be remitted to the High Court if they feel it's not, if it's out with their sentencing powers in the sheriff court. Anyway, this too, contaminated evidence, concealed it, and then lied. Now, on the 2nd of September, this was all over the mainstream media. It was on STV News and everything. So me and my co-worker arrived at Kirkcaldy Sheriff Court on the 13th, because I've got a personal interest in seeing about Louise Lawson, because she's been to my house and threatened me in the past. And I'll put that video up. And what happened was we got there early, and we sat outside the main court, where we thought that it would have been buzzing with reporters and whatever thing, and nothing. And we seen Sheriff Williamson run out that court with, like, he had the fear and excitement in him that he was going to be, run to his car, drove round to the annex court, which is part of the police station, parked in the police car park where they've got the perks of this, and then walks into court with who we thought was the PF, having this great chat. Remember, they're meant to be impartial, non-biased, but the theatre's on place and the predeterminations are there before people get sentenced. And so he walks into court with this character, Murdo MacLeod, Casey. Now, he was Kimberley Jandu's Casey. Now, you will never see cases in sheriff courts unless it's a complex case. Now, this wasn't complex. It's just gatekeepers and two-tier justice and gatekeeping for their own kind. That's what it is. So, and I says to my co-worker, I says, you watch, this will be what their mitigation is, these cases. It'll be, but they were just young and experienced officers and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was Jandu's representation, and this was PC Lawson's, and she is Sheila McCall, and she's a Black Chambers. Black Chambers, you couldn't write it, eh? And there she's there. And you notice they've always got, these fonts of legal knowledge. Look at any picture of them, and they've got these props, usually at the background, with all these books that they never make reference to, because I've even seen them in court Google and stuff, eh? Or probably AI in it, It's just, it's pathetic, honestly. It's really pathetic. So, the proceedings started, but you could see when the two of them were in the dock, the division, the actual hostility between them, and they were just, but they've both resigned now, because they've been told to resign. That's what they've been told. So Sheriff Williamson comes on and the theatre begins. I'll sit on the fence about Sheriff Williamson. I've been involved in a few cases with him. Sometimes he comes out with great verdicts and judgments and whatever, and other times it's just, oh, but remember, he's got an obligation. He's got an obligation, and it's certainly not a you and me, you know. Anyway, so they went into the dock, and um, they were referred to as PCs, and then Sheila McCall stands up and starts twattling on, and just the exact words that I says to my co-worker, well, she was just an inexperienced young officer, and blah blah blah, and and her mental health and all that. She was PC Lawson's, Louise Lawson's rep, and or agent, or whatever you want to call them, brief, or whatever you want to call them, and it's just Sheriff Williamson just shut her down after about 2-3 minutes, and he just says, "Oh, sit down," basically, but nicely. And then Murdo, he got 30 seconds of his claim to fame for Kimberley. But Sheriff Williamson preempted early into the proceedings that he wasn't sending them to jail, because what they've done is they moved away from this charge. I think that they were originally under. I'll put the links up to this, which is a definition of preventing the course of justice or attempting to defeat the ends of justice, and it does fall under the category a contamination of evidence and lying, and and that's exactly what they done, you know. And so what they done is they just pulled out this here, which when the legislation suits them, they will pull it out. It's the legislation's not made for me or you; it's made to suit them, you know. So it was Section 22, the Police Fire Reform Scotland Act 2012, and it was basically a reduced charge to dereliction of duty. That's what it was. Failure to perform duty. Well, they did perform duty very badly, and then they went on to conceal evidence, and that's what they done. So that's how it merited the charge of attempting to defeat the or perverting the course of justice. But this is what they do, and this is what they do. So these two both got background reports, social work reports, sitting holding a social worker's hand and saying it was just terrible and for them and blah blah blah. Remember, that poor man's dead, and his family have got to realise that and understand that they were failed by Police Scotland yet again. There's other cases you could look into, even before Police Scotland was formulated. Colin Marr, just look at what they've done, and that family, they really contaminated and concealed evidence. I think it was back in 2008. That family to today is still fighting for justice. Colin Marr, I may put the link of that up as well, in Dunfermline area. It was horrendous. Horrendous, by the way. Fatal accident inquiries and everything, and nothing, and we're about 18 years down the line, 17 years down the line. It's really horrible. Poor lad, only in his early 20s, killed, and massive feelings. Fife Constabulary, it was called then. So anyway, getting back to these two characters. So they got a £2,000 fine each. They've got their resignation, and they they got it reduced to 1,500 for the early plea. Now you bear in mind that they could never go on community service, because you remember how many people they've set up and put in the dock, puppeted by senior police. It says senior police who should have been in the dock. Joe Farrell, Head of Police Scotland, Alan Spears, Inspector Tony Rogers, all these people who failed them. They were just, look, we are indoctrinated from an early age about the police. It's on Balamori, Noddy. You go and look at every cartoon or everything. That if you're a young age, the police are there to help you and keeping you safe and blah blah blah. It is the total and utter opposite. They're there to set you. I'd never go to the police if they were the last people on earth. I would never go to them. Never. You know, and I've got some great videos to put up. I never prejudiced anything. I've been involved in a few cases. And one thing I have to say about these police numbers, as you see these numbers on their shoulder, and remember, due to the woke data protection, they'll not give you their names and that. Now, they'll not give you their names because they didn't want anything coming back in their own private capacity, but you can get past that. Because I know some decent people. Look, I know ex-people who's been in the police. Great people, 14, 12 years service, and got the call in to get out. Because they knew they were being run by Freemasons. They went in at a very young age, were probably quite indoctrinated, thinking I'm going to, and maybe wanted to do good, and knew if you're surrounded by sinister motives with people that you work for, you're getting nowhere, and you're getting nowhere, you know. But what I have to say to you as well is I've been looking over a lot of police statements recently about a case I'm involved in. And these police have got two numbers, by the way. And I didn't know this. And they've got a PC number and a URN number. And that's when they become police officers, the corporate body. The URN number means unique reference number that they've all got. And remember, the other people who get numbers as prisoners, you know. So just work that one out. And honestly, anyway, getting back to these two characters, and this PC Lawson came to my door 4 years ago with somebody for Dalgety Bay, another cop, a male. And at 2021, when we were all going about with these masks restricting, I certainly wasn't. And that was the reason she came to my door, because I didn't have a mask on in the post office. Oh, I just, and it was a civil matter, but I've got the video linked on my channel up here, which I will put up, and I think it got 22,000 hits. So, maybe in May, and I took the police to court, or attempted to take the police to court. 4 of them came. That's outside my house, and they get skulking away. But she came, and this here was the action that I raised, and in Dunfermline Sheriff Court, because it happened in Aberdour Post Office, and there you go. It was in April 2022, the action. And what happened is Masonic gatekeepers, sergeants and inspectors stepped in, because I started citing the police who came to my door. And of course, good old summary sheriff, um, MacDonald, who was presiding over it, just decided that I wasn't getting to cite the police. Because the gatekeeper, Tony Rogers, community inspector, wrote into the court and says, honestly, but what they stupidly done, him and Judson Howie, Sergeant Judson Howie, and other ones, a Cornelius, Sergeant Cornelius, I've got the emails in my email. They stupidly were in a dialogue, like WhatsApp emails. You know how they do these WhatsApp and their misogynist behaviour and all that, and actually included me in the email, and did they know? You should have seen what they were writing about me. Honestly, it was just, oh my God. I went back to that Rogers, and I went back to him, and oh, my apologies, Miss Gallagher. I says, who do you think you're referring to like that? You, public servant, I says, you know. And then what happened is I emailed them the other week and with an update, because that was 2 years ago I emailed them, or 3 years ago. And then, because they gave me other emails, they stupidly, and obviously it was an intervention, because it was great. It was a great dialogue at the time, because they were just pathetic, trying to scurry you to it, the usual. But anyway, I emailed that Tony Rogers the other week and said, you set that lassie up. And Miss Gallagher, I would appreciate if you do not contact me personally. I says, look, fool, what part do you not understand? I'm not contacting you personally. I'm contacting you and your professional capacity. Honestly, these people just aren't well, but they've set the two lassies up here. I don't know much about that Kimberley, but I know about that Lawson. So anyway, I'll put this up, and that MacDonald, he's a horrible adjudicator, horrible. He's a legend in his own mind on the screen when he's doing his WebEx hearings. See when you get him on the bench? Oh my God. Seriously, he runs off every time he's challenged. When in my case, he went off the bench, run off, and his mask, his 10 pence mask started falling off his face. It was just horrible. It was horrible to witness. It's just a horrible summary sheriff, but he's in with the crew, by the way. He's in with the network, near the judiciary. Oh, very much so. Very obligated. Anyway, watch this. I'll get done for contempt of court again or something, or talking about them. But nothing that I'm saying is not true, and I've got factual evidence to back it up. So there you go. He, in my case, shut it down and just wouldn't let me cite the police, who came to my door and threatened me, 4 of them, at taxpayers' money, about not wearing a mask. Honestly, people really have to wake up to what these people are about. Dangerous people. We're an obligation. and it said all these words, justice and blah, blah, blah. No justice is ever served. That's just a ruse. It's just a ruse. There's just no, every time you go into these places, right, what business have we got today? It's a business, enterprise cartel, it's just disgusting. But these two got off with what they got off with, and I don't know if look, I know people who have left the police and they've got great lives now. They've got a great calling. They got out, you know, and I looked at that Murdo whatever. Look, we're all older and whatever, but he looks dreadful now. He looks dreadful. You know, the lion, the serpent obligation has not helped him. But these people are unstable, and they'll just keep going and going and going until, whatever. Anyway, getting back to PC Lawson. So I basically gave her a statement. I handed her it in court. No, look, I feel compassion for that lassie. I've got a daughter who's 5 years younger than her. She was set up. And Sheriff Williamson says at that hearing, and, because remember, he's got to be very controlled and whatever, because, the legal wigs will pounce on him. And he turned round and says, I'm saying this kindly. I've read your background report and you weren't cut out for the police. And I wanted to shout for the public gallery. And neither's other 15,000 are recruiting at Tully Allen for 11 weeks, at 20-year-old and setting them up to be costumes to go on the street and round the public up. But I just thought I'll get done for contempt again. You just weren't cut out for the police. The woke statement, Anyway, this is what I handed to PC Lawson in court with that actual previous action that she got, that our superiors helped her get out of, and then inevitably set her up to be in the dock. So I will actually put the audio on, or I'll attempt to read this personal statement that I composed for PC Lawson. And here's the personal statement I handed her alongside that previous action that she got out of. Personal statement to PC Lawson, Louise Lawson, 13th October 2025. PC Lawson, today, the 13th October 2025, you stand in court to be sentenced for destroying evidence in a murder investigation. A bloodied towel discarded from a homicide scene, but for me, your misconduct began long before this courtroom. In 2021, you came to my home without lawful authority and threatened me over a civil matter, a dispute at Aberdour Post Office, where I was discriminated against for not wearing a mask. You knew this was not a criminal offence, yet logged it as one, and I'm on a database about that, by the way, which I'm trying to get off of, and it takes years for you to get off of these things, Anyway, for not wearing a mask. You knew that it was not a criminal offence, yet you logged it as one. This was not policing. It was intimidation. You misused your position to escalate a civil grievance into a criminal accusation, and in doing so, caused me distress and undermined my trust and integrity of the police. Well, that was long gone, eh? That was long gone. I've not got any trust or whatever the name, eh? When I pursued civil redress through the courts under case reference DNF SG 32521, your line manager, Sergeant, who we now know is an inspector or was an inspector at the time, Tony Rogers, shielded you from scrutiny. He blocked your attendance at court, denying me the opportunity to challenge you. And that was true, by the way. So he blocked your attendance at court, denying me the opportunity to challenge your actions in a lawful forum. That obstruction was not just procedural, it was personal. It denied me justice. Well, we know there's no justice, eh? Now you face prosecution and sentencing for interfering with evidence in a murder case, and while the justice system has finally caught up with you here, in my case you evaded all accountability. That contrast speaks volumes, because I saw firsthand how you disregard procedure, how you overstep your powers, and how you evade consequences until now. This is not about personal grievance, it's about public trust, which the public haven't got trust in the police now, or any confidence in them. When constables, that should say, act above the law, they erode the very justice they are sworn to uphold. Your conduct, both in my civil case and in this criminal matter, reveals a pattern that must be acknowledged. Today I bear witness to that truth, and as we know, there's never much truth in these places. I'm going to end it there, people, because my dog's downstairs screaming to get out for the toilet, and I'll get to his needs. So anyway, I'll keep you updated with some more videos coming that you will find quite valuable to what truly is going on with Police Scotland and obviously over the UK, because we see it every day on YouTube. Take care.